everyone. It is Tuesday, March 23rd. I can't believe it's almost the end of March. Boy, how time has flown. We have a great program for you today. We had 144 people register. And if you don't know who I am, just in case, I am Zoe Frost. I am the Director of Marketing with Celebration Magazine Live, and you are watching a Zoom and Learn. Now, let me begin with a question. So, would you like to learn how criminals scam people out of thousands of dollars and sometimes their life savings, and what you can do to protect yourself and family? So if you answered yes, which I would hope you did because you're here, you are definitely in the right place. So our speaker today has been a police officer for over 23 years. He's been in the crime prevention unit for the most recent of those 13 years, and he's been helping organizations protect their people and property. So helping us today to avoid identity theft, frauds, and scams, please join me in welcoming from the Plano Police Department, certified crime prevention specialist, certified speaking professional, and block party dancer, Officer Chris Bianez. All right, Chris, I am gonna spotlight you. Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Yes, let me get you in the spotlight and you can take it away.
All right. Well, I didn't get a chance to see you the first of the year, but it's only in March so far. So the first thing I'd like to do is go ahead and I'm not hearing my thing that I need. Well, we are here. Can you still hear me, Zoe?
Yes.
Let me just.
Yep.
Well, my little
The
sound
music
button.
is playing on my end.
Oh, it's playing on your end? Okay. I don't know why it's not playing on mine.
Now you're muted, Chris. There you go.
What about now?
Yes. You're good.
All right. Well, it's so great to be here. The first thing I need to do is mind my manners and give a big shout out thank you to the people who made it possible to be here today. I'd like to thank Deborah Saxon for the invitation to present a program for you, and a special thanks to Zoe for all the behind the scenes that you do to make these possible, and also all the people that put together Celebration Magazine. I enjoy the crossword puzzles and looking at the calendar, and you guys have so many great activities that you bring to us so that we can really celebrate life after 60. Now, some of you may be thinking to yourself, man, I've seen this police officer someplace before. I just can't place it. Well, it could have been from this news broadcast. Let's take a look.
It is National Night Out, a night when neighbors come together to get to know each other and their local police officers. But in Plano, one officer is already very well known. New at 10, JD Miles shows us how tonight he's using his now famous dance skills to strengthen a community.
Real smooth.
4, quarter turn, face the house.
He brought his now famous dance moves to this evening's National Night Out parties in Plano.
Last go round, here we go.
Chris Bianez is the Plano police officer whose nifty line dance and seen a whopping 668,000 times on Facebook.
Nearly 1 million people have seen that video. What do you think about that?
I'm shocked. I'm shocked that it's taken off so much.
The 52-year-old is the department's crime prevention officer, who doesn't need a siren to make an impressive entrance.
Plano PD is in the house, baby.
The 18-year veteran isn't just a good dancer, he's an even better gymnast, as this crime prevention video shows.
This really brings the human factor and makes the officer so much more relatable to people.
Here we go again. Right, 2, 3,
harder than it looks.
4.
Bianez makes it look easy. He's having fun, but it's a job he takes seriously.
Bianez boogied at 3 of the city's National Night Out parties, and as you can imagine, he was the life of all of them. Live in Plano, JD Miles, CBS 11 News.
Oh, I look forward to the time that we can get back together in person and have some fun. Well, today we're going to be talking about identity theft, frauds, and scams. Now, if I had just one thought I could share with you regarding this topic, this would be the message to remember. The best thing that you could do is protect your personal information. Let me say that again. Best thing you could do, protect your personal information. Now, if you're not familiar with the website ftc.gov, the Federal Trade Commission has some wonderful resources. You can even sign up for an email alert where they'll let you know about the latest scams and different frauds going on. So I encourage you to take a look at their website. Many, many resources I think you'll enjoy. One of the things that I look at each year they put out is this report here, the Consumer Sentinel Network. And the most recent 2020 was just came out. And you can't read the small print, but you won't miss that line that goes at steady climb up. It's from 2001, 325,000 fraud reports. But look at that line going up, up, up. And in 2020, there were 4.7 million frauds that were reported. And so first question I have for you is, what type of fraud do you think was the most common? If you said identity theft, you're exactly right. Identity theft was the top one. The second one was imposter scams. And the third most reported fraud was online shopping and negative reviews. Now, that brings me to this question. Why would someone want to steal your identity? Well, money, 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 lots of money. We're going to look at the fraud reports and the money from 2019. There was 1.7 million reports and a loss of 1.9 billion with a B reported. Now look what happens 1 year later. In 2020, when people were having to stay home, the fraudsters were not sleeping. They were working hard because the fraud reports jumped up to 4.7 million reports with a loss of $3.3 billion. And so I've got to tell you that also with seniors, this is so important. Those people over 50 years of age in 2020 lost $845 million. And today we want to probably reinforce, you probably have heard a lot of this before, but we want to reinforce some best practices to make sure that you don't become a victim and you don't get scammed out of your money. Okay, so the question I have for you is, how do they steal this information? And I know we've got some good minds here, so I'm going to put them to use. What I want you to do is go to the chat. If you click on that chat box, and I want you to type in the chat your answers for how you think they steal someone's identity. I have 1 minute on a countdown timer. I'll be watching the chat, and then we're going to come back to discuss it. So here we go. How are they stealing your identity? 1 minute on the clock. Get ready, get set, and go. Oh, sorry about that. I got a little carried away. I'm dancing in my feet right now, my shoes. I'm cooling my doggies because this chat is blowing up. You guys have got some great things. You're talking about spam, spoof phone calls, scam phone calls, fraudulent robocalls. I saw so many stealing purses, and you're absolutely right. This is a very smart little group here. So let's talk about some of these. We're going to start off with the old dumpster diver. They do not mind getting their hands dirty because, you know, some people actually throw away personal information like bank statements or old tax returns they don't need anymore, and they just throw them in the trash. And so they don't mind digging in there because that can really pay off for those identity thieves. Another thing they'll do is they will get those old-fashioned skimmers. If you go to a restaurant and you pay with a credit card, and if someone has a skimmer device, they can just run that credit card, and now the skimmer device captures that information. So when you think about that, if you were to have one of your accounts compromised, either your debit card, which is attached to your checking account, or a credit card, which one would you want to have compromised? Yes, most definitely you want the credit card, because the credit card company, if you call them up and tell you, hey, I didn't make these charges, I don't know who made them, they will go ahead and wipe those charges off. They will tell you to just go ahead and destroy that credit card, and they'll issue you a new credit card. But if your checking account gets compromised through your debit card and you lose cash, it might not be so easy to get that back. So you always want to, if you can, use that credit card in terms of exposing that risk rather than a debit card. The phishing, I didn't really know what this was before I came in the crime prevention unit. I came in the crime prevention unit about 13 years ago, but about 15 years ago, I got an email from my bank that said that they had suspected some type of fraud. And so what they did was they froze my accounts. Well, this was not very convenient for me because it was about the time to pay the bills, and I kind of panicked. And I thought, you can't freeze my accounts. But they wanted me to verify my account numbers and my passwords. And I was about to do it when it dawned on me, wait a minute, I don't have an account at that bank. In law enforcement, we call that a clue. But I'll tell you what, had they had my actual bank, because they had the logo, and you probably know this, but you can search online for Google and look at images and type up any logo you want. IRS, police departments, any logo, and you can find these logos. And so people can send you an email that looks very official. And so when you get something like that and they want you to verify personal information, that's something you don't want to do. Also, when you another thing to watch out is when things don't happen, when your mail doesn't show up like it's supposed to. That could be when someone's actually changed your address. They go in and they divert your bills to another location. And a lot of times they're looking for those unsolicited credit card applications that they can fill out. In fact, we had one here in Plano where the guy, he actually just went to your mailbox, took the mail, and then filled out that application and then mailed it back. And then when it came to your house, took that, opened that account, and people were getting later bills from accounts that they didn't know was open. So they might divert your mail for something like that, change your address. And then the old-fashioned stealing. They can steal your purse or your wallet, or you mug you on the street and try to get your personal information out of those billfolds and wallets. Another thing, so the next question I have, and I was worried if you'd be able to get into that chat, but boy, you guys are champions at that. So here's your next chat. I want you to type in now. We've talked about how your identity gets compromised. Now, what can you do to protect your identity? We've got 1 minute again in the chat. Get ready, get set, and go. Once again, great information we have in the chat. I saw someone who actually froze their credit. We're going to talk about the importance or the opportunity to do that and why that might be a good thing. We talked about not getting an ID protection type service plan. So lots of great things that you put in there. Okay, so how can we protect our identity? Like I said on the chat, you've got some great things in there. We're going to discuss a few of those now. One is this. If the key to real estate is location, 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 the key to protecting your identity and your documents is to shred, shred, shred. Now, I think there's one shredder better than the other. We don't want to have the shredder that just slices them into long strips like this, because we have found these identity thieves who go through the painstaking time to scotch tape them back together, because it's worth taking the time to do that so that you can see what that document said. Instead, you want one of these cross-cut shredders that cuts them into little tiny bits. If you have this, I think that's sufficient. Now, I've had some people in my audience who shared with me things they do to make it even safer. One lady said, "Officer Bianez, can I tell you what I do?" I said, "Sure." She says, "Well, what I do is I've got a cross-cut shredder, but I don't throw all the bits out at once. I'll bag up half of them, throw them out 1 week, and then another week, I throw the next one out." I said, "Boy, that's pretty thorough." Someone else raised their hand and said, "Let me tell you what I do." I said, "Yes, ma'am." She goes, "I take that and I mix it all together in the kitty litter. And if they want to get their hands in that, they're welcome to it." I don't think you have to go to that much length. I think if you had a crosscut shredder, you're probably fine. But what about this? The thefts, boy. I think one of the easiest place to steal someone's purse is the grocery store in the produce section. So often you'll see someone leave that cart, go over to pick something out, and it just takes a second to be distracted and have a loss from that. Matter of fact, there was a news report. Let's listen in.
New video tonight. What a woman thought was a nice conversation at a supermarket turned out to be a distraction to get her wallet. Take a look. Police say surveillance video from a Publix in Weston shows two guys walking into the store and making their way to the produce section. Police say the video shows one of the men talking to the victim while the other unzips her purse and grabs her wallet. It happened earlier this month at the store on Weston Road. The victim told police she noticed her wallet was missing when she went to check out. If you know either of these men, you are asked to please give police a call.
Another place you have to watch your purse is when you're just pumping the gas. There was a report that was put out a number of years ago, and this is another one good to remember, because when you're on the side pumping the gas and your purse is sitting there over on the passenger seat, that's all they need to. They call this sliders. Let's take a look.
It happens in an instant. Watch as this man snatches a purse in a matter of seconds. Police call them sliders for the way these gas station thieves cagily slide between the top of your door, lying in wait for just the right moment to pounce and run off with your valuables. And this morning, police say these types of crimes are on the rise. Watch what happens at this Texas gas station. This car pulls up next to a woman who's pumping gas. She is oblivious to the man next to her. He brazenly slides right into her car, grabbing her purse and running off before she can even blink. She chases after him, but to no avail. From Corbin, Kentucky to Tampa, Florida, these slippery sliders are being caught on camera all across the country. Sometimes the perp is caught red-handed. This man gives chase after witnessing a sliding. But most of the time, the victim has no idea until it's too late.
They're not looking for a confrontation. They just want the property because they know it's being left abandoned and you're not paying enough attention.
At this Houston
I'll tell you another place that we need to watch is these, when we go out to eat, a lot of ladies will put their purse and they'll hang that strap on the back of their chair. You can see right here, we have a senior couple with probably their son or daughter having lunch with them. And this was a local restaurant here in Plano. And you see this couple that shows up, and you notice he moved that chair off to the side. And now he takes that little, he's going to use this as a criminal instrument, that jacket. And you'll notice when the waitress comes up to get his drink order, he feels a little embarrassed about this. And so he hides that jacket underneath the table. So keep an eye on this little thing. So he hides. Now, who would put their jacket on the floor like that? Well, somebody who's planning to commit a crime with it. Now he is going to pretend that it's so difficult for him to put on his jacket. And what he's really doing is just digging into the purse that's hanging on the back of that chair. And you notice that the couple right across from this woman whose purse is there, that is probably her parents, and they don't even notice it. So you can't think just because someone is with you at the table, they're going to see if someone's stealing. They won't. So the best practice is do not hang your purse on the back of a chair. Now he reaches under that billfold and hands it under the table to the lady with him. Oh, ladies, say it's not so. Now I don't know how many women are actually committing these burglary of motor vehicles, but I'll tell you that oftentimes when someone swipes the card that's been stolen, it's a lady who's doing that as well. So you need to be very careful when it comes to that purse. Make sure you're not hanging it on the back of that chair. Okay, another thing we want to protect is your social security number. You know, someone can have your name and your date of birth and your driver's license. They might not get very far, but all they need is that social security number, and they can even misspell your name and steal your identity. The only place that social security number should be is in your memory and locked away someplace safe. So do not carry that in your purse or your wallet. Don't give out personal information on the phone. If it's going to be a one-way communication of personal information, if you make the call and you know who you're speaking with, then you can give out that information. But if a call comes to you that you answer a phone, we're never ever going to be giving out personal information to that person. It's too dangerous. And no one that's legitimate, like the IRS or the Social Security Department, they're not going to ask you for those things. Neither will your bank. So when someone starts asking you to confirm these things, boy, you know, in law enforcement, we call that a clue that this person's up to no good. Links in the emails. You might get an email that says that they are going to refund your information, or there's an invoice that's past due, or it could be any number of things. And what they're trying to do is get you to click on that link. I got one the other day that said that my website was going to be, unless I made a payment, it was going to be turned off. It was going to be all the information on that website would be lost. And I needed to click on this link to contact someone, make a payment. I didn't click on that link. That's not from who I have my website. But if I had just read it and took it at face value, I would have clicked on that link. But I know better. Don't click on links in email unless you're absolutely certain the source of that email. Okay, we also want to be careful with passwords. We don't want to use our obvious things like our maiden name or last four of the Social Security. Some of you may know about like software packages like LastPass, where you create one complicated password and then you put all your other passwords or your other accounts into that software, and it creates really complicated passwords that no one can hack, supposedly. And all you have to remember is that one password. And so there's several different things. You can look that up, like password protecting software like LastPass, but you definitely want to protect that and not have it be something that's really obvious. We want to keep your personal information at home in a safe place, particularly if you have people working in your house or other people who are accessing, because everyone can take, I'm trying to look for my phone here. Everybody who has a phone also has a camera that they can quickly take a photograph of documents that are accessible to them. They can open a file cabinet and look at that little tab that says tax returns and open that up and quickly get your Social Security. So we want to have a locking file cabinet, keep your things locked up and secured, and keep personal information where it's not just laying around on top of your desk where people can access. The next thing we want to do is detect, is to see if everything's okay. And the way we do that is to look at our accounts regularly. So when you get your statements, you want to take a look at those statements carefully, see if there's any charges that you didn't make, and kind of stay on top of that. Each year we get, and here's some clues that something might be wrong. If you get bills that don't arrive on time, or you get unexpected credit card statements for accounts that you don't have, or if you apply for some credit and you get denied when you know that there's no reason that you should be denied for credit, you've got a good credit report, or if you get some notice that for purchases you didn't make. Like, again, in law enforcement, a clue. We can also look at each year we have a free credit report that we get from the 3 credit reporting agencies. And you can get yours at the www.annualcreditreport.com. Now, what some people do is rather than get all the reports in January and look over each of those, because each one kind of has a little different information. Instead of doing that, they'll get one in January, and then a few months later, get one from the other credit reporting agency. A few months later, get another one. That way, they're looking at a report throughout the year rather than just at one time. That might be a good idea. The other thing you want to do is if you do find something, now you're in the defend mode. And so some steps you definitely need to take. One of the first steps you want to do is first I wanted to point out this chart that I got from that Sentinel report. The green bars represent the ages, and I think it's from under 19 and then over 80 is the one on the right-hand side. And what we notice is that the older we seem to get, the more the money loss is. So there's more of a money loss as we age. But that yellow line, if you look at that yellow line going down, that's the tendency to report to the police. And we notice that the younger people are, the more likely they are to report. And as we age, we're less likely to report. And I would definitely want to change that trend. So hopefully you don't have a loss, but if you do have a loss, you definitely should make a report so that gets, worked on and tracked. So these are the 3 credit reporting agencies: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Now, if something happens and you think that your identity's been compromised, you want to call one. They said if you call one, they will contact the other 2. And you let them know that you want a fraud alert to put on, and that will last for 90 days. And one thing that I think is even better than a fraud alert is if you don't plan to open up any new accounts, why don't you do like someone said in that chat and just go ahead and freeze your account? It used to cost $10 for each one of those different credit reporting agencies. But a couple of years ago, they waived that $10 fee so you can freeze your credit. So you have to do that. You have to call each one and have them freeze your credit. Now, no one can open new accounts in your name. So that's a good thing to do if you know that I don't need to open any accounts. And then later, if you wanted to open it up to make a car purchase or something, ask the dealership which one of those credit reporting agencies they use, and then tell them it's frozen. I'm going to unfreeze it. You can unfreeze it, make that transaction. Once it's complete, you can call them back and refreeze it. And again, I think it's now no cost, or if it is a cost, it's a nominal fee of like $10 per place. The other thing you want to do is make sure you close any accounts that have been affected. So contact those agencies, let them talk to their fraud department, let them know what's happened, and close those accounts. Okay, filing a police report. This is really important because some people may not take it serious unless you have a police report, and they're going to give you what's called an incident number for you to track and for your records. Now, if you went to the Federal Trade Commission, they have a process they kind of walk you through for like a fraud affidavit. But I would recommend, instead of filling all that paperwork out, that you first contact the local police department where you're going to make your report and ask them if they have paperwork you need to fill out. I did that when I filed a tax return once, and when I got called by my tax preparer who told me, bad news, someone already filed a tax report under your name. And so now each year they have to give me a PIN to submit my tax returns because my Social Security number was compromised in that. I don't know who did it, how they got it, but now I have a PIN for that. So contact the local police department, ask them first, do they have paperwork, before you just fill out the Federal Trade Commission's paperwork. And FTC.gov would love for you also to report anything that you have from them as well. Okay. So the most common crime towards seniors is not identity theft. It is actually telephone fraud. And I saw someone mention that in there about telephone and not giving information out there. So you might get a call saying that you won the lottery. I did. I got notified that I won the Microsoft Internet Lottery. That was so exciting because I don't even remember applying for it, but I won like $104 million. Well, As you can see, I'm still working. So it was just a scam. So don't fall for that. Now, one thing they'll usually do when you've won this jackpot is tell you, well, you just have to pay a small tax. If you have to pay a tax, that's against the law. So you know right there, that's a scam. But sometimes they want you to pay a tax or a fee in order to get that. And of course, no, it's just a scam. So
Answer, that's one of them if you want to hear it.
Benjamin Bush, how can I help you, sir?
Carter, do you have a grandmother? How would you feel if I took every single thing your grandmother had?
Everyone that came in was like that. Different name, different person that I entered these contests with.
Why would you want to steal from a little old lady?
After the phone calls, mail. Tons of mail announcing 82-year-old Rita was a winner. The catch? She's got to send them money to get the big prize.
They want a check. They want money down here. They want $35. Extraordinary sweepstake I won.
Rita's a victim of a scam known as the Jamaican lottery fraud.
People are solicited through mail, email, or telephone that they've won the lottery, and they're asked to pay a tax to get the winnings. And what it is really a scheme that originates out of Jamaica by Jamaican nationals in order to defraud Americans of their hard-earned money, particularly the elderly.
Yeah, so do not send any money for these supposed prize winning. And something else that we're seeing a lot of is the romance scams, the online dating. Now, I've got some good news and bad news about this online dating. The good news is the internet has made it possible that you could meet people that you would not be able to meet otherwise. The bad news is that internet also opens up a lot of cases for online dating romance scams. And so you think you're talking to one person and you're talking to someone else. For instance, you think that this is the guy you're talking to online. You're thinking, how did I get so lucky? And really, you're talking to this dude. So you've got to be careful. I don't know if you've heard about that show called Catfish, where you think you're talking to one person and you're actually not, but that happened a lot. We had a lady here in Plano who lost over $300,000 to one of these scams. She paid $300,000 to some person that she only knew online. And so I have a safety rule for you. This is a good rule to follow. Never, first, before I tell you the rule, this is your telltale story that there's the sign. Telltale sign is going to be this. There's a hard luck story followed by a need for your money. So recently we had a situation where this happened just recently where somebody was scammed by a romance scam. He was talking to this lady online and he told her that he lives here in Fort Worth, but he's out of the country right now and he's doing mining for precious gems and stones. And he gave her $1 million check to hold. And I thought, oh, that's brilliant. I've never heard of that before. We're going to give you this $1 million check for collateral. And that way you can send me these measly $1,000 increments, which is what she did. She sent him several $1,000 at a time by going out and getting these gift cards. One was because his workers, they didn't have any clothing. So she helped him get the clothing. But no, here's your rule to keep you safe. Never send money to a person you only know by phone or online. If you don't know this person personally, do not send money. You might have seen that show of Dr. Phil where this one lady sent over $1 million, even sold one of her apartment complexes that she owned, thinking that she was in love, only to find out that it was a total scam. So don't fall for the romance scams. Another thing is big is the granny scam. That's when you get a call from someone and they tell you, they pretend to be a grandchild and something's wrong, they need help. And this lady, Betty Stapleton, oh, did she get taken on this? Let's take a look.
It said, "Hi, Grandma." And I said, "Well, who's this?" And they said, "It's your granddaughter." And I said, "Which one?" And she said, "Your oldest granddaughter."
Only it really wasn't Betty's granddaughter. It was a woman pretending to be her, saying that she was out of town and got into a drunk driving crash, hit another woman, and was in jail. She needed $50,000 from Granny to get out.
And then the next day they called and said the lady died and it was going to go up and they needed 60 more and or else she would be going into prison for 10 years on manslaughter.
The woman asked Betty to promise not to tell anyone. Betty agreed. After all, she couldn't let her granddaughter go to jail. Betty wired the money. Then it all unraveled when she got a call from her real granddaughter, who simply wanted to say hello.
So where are you? She said, I'm at home, Grandma. And I knew then that they'd taken, you know, all that they had.
Which is how much?
They took $161,027.
How much of your savings is gone?
95% of it, at least. I thought that I was helping her. I thought I was saving her life. And instead, I just ruined my own.
When someone says to you, don't tell, that's a clue that you should tell. And if you tell someone, you know, your loved one's going to say, he said, what? And in the end, you'll be so glad that you picked up that phone and you called before you sent money because you didn't fall for it. Remember, the faster someone needs your money, the more you need to slow down. Another thing is a computer virus. You may get a phone call stating that you're, you know, from Microsoft, that you have a computer virus and they need you to, they're going to give you a free check and they're going to direct you to go to a website so they can do this free check for you. What they want is remote access to your computer. Once you give them remote access, my goodness, you're going to be shocked to discover that, oh no, yes, indeed, you do have a virus. And if you want to have them fix it for you, well, for a small fee, they'll be able to hook you right up. Well, the truth was, you never had a virus in the first place. You just gave them access, and then they put some malware in. And my favorite one was a lady here in Plano. She got a phone call, and it went something like this.
Hello?
Hi, this is Rick with Microsoft. I'm calling you because we detected that your computer might have a virus.
That's strange. I don't have a computer.
I love that one. Even if you have a computer, try that, because all of a sudden he just hung up. You might also get a call from the IRS, let you know that you've got some taxes due and they're going to come arrest you if you don't pay right away. And that brings me to the old arrest scam, where you get a call and someone tells you that there's a warrant for your arrest. What I want you to do if you get something like this is I want you to put on I want to ask some questions and lots of questions. If you ask them things like this, if you say, let me see, I got out of oh, there we go. I want you to ask lots of questions. You might ask them something like, what's your name and how do you spell that? And you'll start finding this person won't like you taking charge. You can ask them questions like, what is your badge number? He's not going to like that at all. And when you get real specific and you start saying, what is the warrant number? You're going to see this guy come unglued. The next thing you're going to hear is something like this. Oh, yes, because you didn't fall for the arrest scam. You know, these guys are not too clever. One guy, they called the wrong person for this one time.
I'll give out the complete information to you. I need you to verify me with the last 4-digit number of your social security so I can confirm that the details are given to the right person.
I'm not going to confirm my social security number with you.
Ms. Stephen, I'm not asking you to confirm your social security number. What I'm asking you.
What they're going to want you to do is go and get gift cards. And I have to warn you, if you ever go and get a gift card and then put money on this card and then either read off those numbers to someone or take a picture of them and send it to them, that money will be transferred off of that card into their account and that money is gone. It is untraceable. We will not be able to recover it for you. So do not ever go get a gift card to pay something. Remember, gift cards are for gifts, not for payments. Another thing to remember is if you wire money, it could be the same thing. Don't run out and wire money and pay gift cards. To tell you what the detective had told me, that the only people who get scammed are the people who listen to the scammer and don't talk to someone else. Every detective I spoke to, when the person who was on the phone with the scammer talked to another person, they didn't get scammed. Because that other person who's not pulled into it is going to be a little more level-headed, and they're not going to fall for it the same way. Remember, the faster they need your money, the more you need to slow down. At this point, I'm going to ask Zoe if there's any questions that's been put in the chat, or if anyone has questions for me.
Fantastic. I have seen some things come through. I have a couple questions myself, actually. So the first one is, I don't know if you heard, but I made mention I'm building a new house. And
I did hear that. Congratulations, first off.
Thank you. As we were looking at homes, we noticed that everyone now is using the locked mailboxes, and they're saying it's a requirement now by the USPS. Instead of having a mailbox at each house, it's now, you've got those units all over the place. So are they doing that now to help with identity fraud and make it so people can't get access to your mail?
Yes, I don't know about it being a requirement someplace. If they're making a requirement, that's nice. If I ever rebuild a house, I'm going to get me one of those fancy mailboxes that you pull down the lid, kind of like at the PO box,
Mm-hmm.
and then it drops to the bottom and has plenty of space, so in case you go on vacation. And then around the back of the unit, down by the bottom, you open it, that door, and get your mail. But yes, they go and they follow the mail carriers. That's one reason you do not want your checks to be delivered to your mailbox. I would have your bank hang on to them if that's at all possible and go pick them up. But you do need to watch your mail and try to pick it up right away, or get some kind of locking mailbox. Highly beneficial.
Yeah. Fantastic. Interesting. Yeah, they told us it was a requirement of the city that's the way the mailboxes be, and the postal service, which I found interesting. So we had a lot of people. So we have a lot of people that are saying they've gotten the Amazon.com emails, Apple. Let's see. Let's see. Someone got an email from a friend, but the email was slightly different. And that was spam. So, okay, Clara Winkler actually has a good question. She said, I got a grandma call last week. I asked him which one of my grandchildren it was. Was it Billy or James? And she then read him the riot act. Good for you, Clara. But she has neither. So should she report that phone number to the police department, or what should she do?
Yeah, probably nothing to do. If you end up being a victim and you lose money or something like that, at that point you can do the report. But again, please never go get a gift card, because like I said, we can take the report, but we're not going to get your money back. But when this is, this is something that if you're going to do anything with that number, most likely that number is going to come back to be a burner number, meaning that you can't trace the number. They're smart enough. They're not going to use a cell phone that is in their name. It's usually they're going to be out of the country, and you can't trust your caller ID, whatever that. If you get something that says the IRS, that's probably not the IRS. And if you get something from a police department, it's probably not the police department. So you have to verify these things. But that's, at this point, she has nothing to report because she's not a victim of anything. It's one of those buyer bewares. If she wants to do anything with it, go to the ftc.gov and put that information, report it there, and they'll track it if they can.
Perfect. This is terrible, and I do need to mention it. Janet Bertrand says she wishes that we would have done this event before, because she ended up losing thousands of dollars through a scam. And it was just in February. So that is a terrible thing. And they're very, I mean, even my mother-in-law, who is a cynic beyond belief and never gives her information to anyone, had a really convincing phone call from the bank, I believe it was. And she was like, and she almost gave information, and she went, wait a minute. And she stopped herself. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot going through text messages now. A lot of people are saying that they're getting the text message scams. I can't tell you how many times my iPhone 12 has been delivered to my home now and to click the link. Um,
Mhm.
um, Trisha Lee said they had some guys come last week selling solar panels. Is there fraud with solar panels? They have you get a loan and you have to have your banking info for the loan, but you get 5,000 back. But then to keep your electric bill from going up, you have to give them money back after 19 months. That sounds a little fishy to me.
Yeah, I don't know. One thing for sure is you want to make sure you're dealing with a really good contractor, reputable, get references, someone just knocking on your door. First off, I'd recommend you have like a no soliciting sign on your door.
Mhm.
And that way people should not be coming up and knocking and soliciting, trying to sell you something. If they do, they've violated a city ordinance. So you could actually call the police and say, I'd like to report a city ordinance violation. I have no soliciting. And someone came to my door, try to sell me something. So it might be some kind of scam. So you got to be careful. A lot of the senior community is targeted for these different types. There was one senior that they knocked on the door. They did a free check of the attic and they found out there was all this damage inside the attic. And so they did a big, massive repair and they were up there in the attic, hammer, chip, working away. And when the son came later to check on his parents, he heard about this and he thought it was kind of strange. So he went up and looked in the attic and all these things were nailed up and all the beams, just helter-skelter, just crazy. There was nothing wrong up there, but they paid like $4,000 of repairs that they didn't even need to do. So don't let people in your house. Don't let people come and do these home repairs that you don't know. Make sure that you do your due diligence and get referrals and ask around and that type of thing. You gotta be careful about that.
Yeah, yeah. Um, okay, so Peggy Quinn said you get a visa that you didn't open. You close it and you report it to the bank as fraud. Do the ftc.gov form, do the police report, double check your lock on credit report and credit uh uh the bank sends them a copy of your reports and driver's license to their fraud department. You do all this, now what? Is that the end, or do you keep trying to see who's investigating for an indictment? How does this criminal get found?
Yeah, you do all that you can, you forget about it. Just like me as a police officer, I do my part of my job. My job is if I go out and I actually end up arresting someone and I take them to the jail and I drop them off and I fill my paperwork and I might get called for a court case. But what happens in the end is out of my control. I have to do my job. So your job's going to be to do all the things we talked about today. And whether the person gets prosecuted or not, you don't lose a lot of sleep. Some people, there was a guy, for instance, that he noticed a charge on his credit report where on his credit card statement for like $5,000 for a purchase of a computer he didn't buy.
Mm.
So he contacted the credit card company and they took that off of his thing and they gave him a new card. Well, he came to the police department. He wanted to file a report. Well, he's no longer the victim because that charge was taken off of him
Mhm.
and he didn't have to pay for it. He's not the victim. Who's the victim?
Right.
Credit card company. But the credit card company's not going to prosecute. They're not going to pursue it. You know why? They're going to spend so much money trying to find this person that they may never find, that it's better for them to write it off as a cost of doing business.
Yep.
So don't get caught up with catching the person. The main thing is be very diligent not to have your stuff compromised. And if you find it has been compromised, then do those steps and then get a good night's sleep and everything else.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's the big thing about businesses. You got to remember, they just write it off,
Yeah.
Okay, what about the calls for car insurance renewal?
Okay, so I'm confused what the question is.
That's Yvette, if you want to explain a little more, you can unmute yourself, darling.
I guess on my cell phone and even on our house phone, we constantly get these calls saying your car insurance thing is expiring. And my brother and all of them keep saying the same thing, but at first I almost got mixed up because I had bought a new car. So I thought it was something I was supposed to do. But they so what is that? I mean, who do you even call to stop that?
Yeah, well, I don't know how you can call it a stop. They can send you those things, and you can try to put yourself on the do not call list and that type of thing. But if it's coming in the mail, I don't know how you're going to stop it. I just throw them away. I get that all the time. That my maintenance contract for my car is expiring, and call them right away. They're just trying to sell me a service contract, and they may be legit, and they're just trying to do marketing, or they may just be a fraudulent thing. But I just toss it away.
Yeah, I always laugh when they call me about a car that I owned like 3 cars before. That's my favorite. We're calling
Yeah.
about your Nissan Altima.
He said, gone.
Okay, actually, this is a great question from Trisha Lee. What about the calls that you get from the police association and them asking for money and donations, and then you get a sticker for it? Like, is
Yeah.
that legit?
I have, if you ask the question, but someone who's really going to be like a fraudster is probably not going to give you the answer. But a good question is to ask them how much of the money goes to different salaries and things, and how much the money goes to the charity. And what I would recommend when you get the call from the International Order of Police or whatever they might say they are, if you have it in your heart that you want to give a charitable donation, there's one called charitynavigator.org. I think it's charitynavigator.org, and look it up, and they kind of show you the percentage of what goes to salaries versus what's going to the actual charity. And so you can check that out. And the other thing is just tell them, just send me information, send it in the mail. Any good company is going to have no problem giving you more information. These other people who know that you're trying to check them out, they're going to go look for someone else who's going to just fall for it. But I wouldn't give money out to a call like that. Instead, I would reach out. If it's the fire department, I would reach out to your local fire department and see if they have a nonprofit that you could put money in, or the police department, wherever you want to put your charitable donation, but contact them directly rather than believing someone who calls you on the phone. I think that's a much better practice.
Well, and that brings up a question of my own because I've noticed this a lot recently where I live. So how should we handle the organizations that are at the red lights with the buckets and the signs that say they're representing XYZ and taking donations for this? I mean, I personally don't think I can trust them anymore, but what are your thoughts?
Well, I have a couple of thoughts. First off, I worry about them being walking around the street like they are all the time. And I would look at that organization name, and again, I would go more legit with the thing rather than being in the street. Look them up. You can send them a check or do something else. But who knows? I also have a personal safety concern with someone comes up and they make some sign. Like I said, I can print off anything to make it look legit. Walk
Right.
up to your window and you roll your window down. Now what might happen? Who knows? So
Right.
I'd say have your doors locked, your windows up, and do that donation at a safer place.
Okay. Is it true that spam texts can be forwarded to 7726?
Don't know.
Yeah, I
If
can't say
that's
I've heard of
true, I
that.
haven't heard of that before.
Okay. Someone had their credit card used several years ago in Brazil, so now they have alerts on all of their accounts. Okay, so one person said that their daughter set up credit locks with all 3 credit reporting agencies. And do they have to unlock them to be able to get their annual credit report?
Not sure about that. I'm not. I'm thinking you probably don't have to do
Yeah.
that. I wouldn't think. I think you can probably keep it frozen and just do your annual credit report, I would think.
Okay.
I think that's just so no one can open up new accounts.
Yeah, someone else actually had the same thing happen about the attic work. Let's see, had ID stolen, was advised to contact all utilities, which is interesting. They tried to open new accounts. $1 charge on the debit card from Walmart in Arkansas. She called her bank. They could not help because the charge was reversed. Interesting. Apparently, Walmart was getting ready to charge them for their program Walmart Plus, which they'd never signed up for. The $1 charge was a check to see if the account worked before they charged her. So that's
Right.
interesting. And you know, that's one thing actually worth bringing up is it's so easy to get into free trials and subscriptions that you're not even aware of. I actually had it happen to me. I didn't finish setting up my profile or my information, and I was in my bank account the other day and I'm like, how are they charging me $50? I didn't finish it. So I have to call and cancel. And that's the other thing that's frustrating nowadays is, especially with online things, you can't cancel online. You still have to call. You can't, they don't make it easy.
Easy.
Yeah. IRS never makes contact by phone. We had a lot of people say that. Janet, thank you so much. She put the charitynavigator.org website into the chat for everyone. Okay, so Lynn and Bob Alford said that you don't have to unfreeze your credit to get your reports because they do it themselves. And Roy Bale said the same thing. So that reaches the end of what I can see of all of our questions and comments. You know, it's sad. I always say, you know, unless you for sure know the person, I always say, don't trust anyone. If they're asking for any information that has anything to do with anything, I'm always like, no, thanks.
Somebody had mentioned that they wish, you know, that we'd had this a little bit earlier. There's something that I put out weekly called Safety Minute. And so I don't know, am I sending these to you, or have you gotten these emails from me called Safety Minute?
I have not, I don't think.
I'll add you to my list, but the one place you can find this, let me go to the place you can find this. If you go to the City of Plano's YouTube channel, you go to YouTube, you type in City of Plano, and down here, over here, you'll see the playlist. And then over here, when you look for a Safety Minute, Plano Police Safety Minute, if you click on that, that will come up. And then to the right, you're going to see all these, and you can see, I think there's 163 videos.
Oh, wow.
And so we talk about identity theft, fraud, scams, protecting, what you can do to make your house more burglar resistant. But there's a lot of great information that you'll be able to find there. And that if anyone's interested, you can go to that YouTube and then you can click on subscribe. And every time one's added, it will notify you.
So let me ask you a question. Is that something that would be okay for us to share to our Facebook page for our seniors?
You bet.
Awesome. I will let our social media person know about that. Be great information to get out and around. Someone stated they've gotten the City of Plano newsletters and they recommend signing up the newsletters in the place that you live, which makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Another thing that I found really helpful too is a lot of communities like Nextdoor, the Nextdoor app, and even Facebook groups for your community. You know, a lot of times you'll have neighbors that are looking out for each other and saying, hey, I saw these people going door to door. They're a little suspicious. Just be aware and be wary. So a lot of times they'll give you, you know, information that things is going on in the community that don't seem legit to them, which can help you also in your home. So
yeah, it's a very good idea.
Yeah.
We utilize nextdoor.com, and we do our advertising of all the different announcements there. Another thing that not every city has this, but we utilize a thing called communitycrimemap.com. So whoever type that in, communitycrimemap.com, and you can put in your address and you can view all the different types of crimes. As a matter of fact, let me go to my Google here real quick.
I'll put it in I'll put it in the chat for you too.
Okay, so communitycrimemap.com. This will give you an example as this pulls up. And then you can put in an address. First, you have to say, okay, and continue. And then you can type in an address right here. And so let's say that address. And then I'll hit enter. And it will pull up. So this red spot right here, that's the address. And then over here, is like, you can click on this theft and it will give you a little description of what that was. Gives you the incident number, says it was a theft, and it tells you it would, who submitted that as Plano Police. And then it's got all different date ranges. You can select a different date range if you want. You can populate it. Let me see for the last month. And that's for the last month. Or you can say, let me see for 6 months. And it shows you the different offenses, starts to populate it. You can, I'm going to go say the last month, and then you can go for different events. These are all, if you want to see just, I think you can actually say deselect all. And if you wanted to look for just the burglary of residential burglaries, there they are. And you click on here, it gives you a description. So it's pretty nice. Like I said, not every community has this, but the Plano Police Department, we upload all of our stuff into that community crime map.com, and you can see information there.
Wow, that's a great little tool. That's super cool. I'm looking at it while you're
And
talking about
I'm going to click back and show you one other part of that I found useful. What I do is up here on the right-hand side up here, you can set alerts. So you can sign up for crime alerts. So let me go there. And then here, you can sign up. You can put your name and your first name, last name, email, and then you can say, what do you want to see? You want I signed up for the daily. And you can sign up for whatever one that you want, what different types of offenses you'd like to see. So it's pretty nice. I get a daily email about crimes within one. You can select how frequent and the distance. So I said, I want to know everything 1 mile around my house. And so you can set that up like that.
Wow, that's great. Fantastic information. Well, Officer Bianez, I think we're done. You did an amazing job. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really, really, really great information.
I'm going to have you unspotlight me so that way we can see you as you're talking.
Oh, they can see me. We're spotlit together. Don't you worry about it.
Oh, perfect. Oh yeah, we are side by side. Hey, you have a good joke. I'm a fan of good humor. You got a good joke for us, Zoe?
Ooh, do I have a good joke? No, I don't ever have good jokes. Where's a pirate's favorite place to eat?
I was just getting ready for my sound effects. So when you said the joke with a punchline, I was going to hit this. Just trying to find an excuse to use those.
You gotta love them. I'm more of a crickets joke kind of person. I'll get crickets.
This is what happens when I tell a joke. Is like this, or so sad, so sad.
I love bad, terrible, horrible jokes. So anyway, we've had yes. So well, thank you so much for joining us. Hey everyone, if you want to take yourselves off mute and make some noise for Officer Bianez, that would be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Great
job.
Thank you very much.
Now
Thank
Zoe,
you very much.
One thing I'd love to do is come back sometime if you think the time is right for a property safety seminar. Teach how to make your house more burglar resistant. Because if someone goes up and kicks a door, most likely it's going to fly open. And I'll share what people can do to make it more burglar resistant.
Most certainly, I would love to do that, and we will get together. We'll get it on the calendar, and I might even slip you in today. So we'll see what we can do to get in. But I think that's really important for our audience and everyone to have that information. So. Thank you once again. Thank you so much for sharing. Everyone, don't forget to join us for tomorrow. We've got bingo. Wednesdays are for bingo. And then Thursday, we've got a happy hour. So come talk and chit chat and share stories and grab a drink and we'll just have a good time. And don't forget, if you haven't signed up, we do have our drive-in movie on Saturday night here at the spot. You get hot dogs, popcorn, candy, peanuts, drinks, everything. You got it. You name it. You can still join us here if you give us a call here at the office, 469-532-2622. All right, guys. Well, we will see you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. Officer Bianez, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zoe. Thanks for all that you do.
Thank you.